welcome to Nonprofit Nerd Impact Unleashed, where conversations are designed for nonprofit leaders by nonprofit leaders to inspire, educate, and motivate. Get ready to dive into the world of nonprofits where the nerdy passion and unstoppable dedication of those making a real impact is celebrated. Together with your host, Jarrett Ransom, the inspiring stories, tactical insights, and game-changing strategies of nonprofit leaders will be explored. Join us for real talk with real people. Jarrett and her guests unravel the mysteries of successful fundraising, uncover the secrets of effective advocacy, and nerd out over innovative approaches to solving social challenges. Nonprofit Nerd Impact Unleashed is your go-to podcast for no-nonsense discussions with real-life superheroes of the nonprofit sector. Get ready to unleash your inner nerdiness and discover or rediscover how to change the world together. Now let's dive in and embrace the power of our nerdy side.
Welcome back, fellow nonprofit nerds. I am so glad you're here because today's conversation is all about visibility. Not marketing, not self-promotion, but the intentional practice of helping people truly see the full scope of your mission and impact. I'm joined today by Karianne Munstedt, who works with organizations to move visibility from an afterthought to a strategic leadership tool. In this episode, Karianne breaks down how visibility differs from traditional marketing, the most common mistakes that nonprofit leaders make, like relying solely on events or waiting until there's time to tell their story, and also why visibility is essential to mission advancement, not ego. We also talk about the very real discomfort that many nonprofit leaders feel about being in the spotlight and how reframing visibility as a way to serve your mission, not yourself, can unlock greater impact, stronger relationships, and sustainable support. Yeah, imagine that. Karianne closes with practical, approachable advice on how leaders, that's you, can start today by capturing and sharing authentic moments that reflect the heart of the work. So before we hear from Karianne, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Bloomerang and the Fundraising Academy at National University for their continued support and sponsorship of this season. Their partnership makes these important conversations possible and helps equip nonprofit leaders with the tools, the strategies, and the confidence we need to help lead with clarity and purpose. So get ready because Karianne has a lot of great insights that I know you're going to love. Hey everyone, I am so thrilled because today we have Karianne Munstedt with us, who is someone I have been so very honored to get to know over, how many years now, Kari?
Gosh, has it been like eight? I think 8 years now.
Has it been 8? So her voice, your voice, Kari's voice, might sound familiar because you have been so generous in offering your voice to me as the intro, if you will, for previous seasons. Not this one. We changed it because we turned the tables and you're a guest. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. This is a real full circle moment for me too, Jarrett. Being your friend for so long, watching you create this whole podcast from the start, lending my voice to it, doing photography for it. So to be a guest on it now is a real full circle moment. And I'm just so glad to be here today.
Well, thank you. And let's dive in because we have a lot to cover, a lot of energy to share with our listeners. And I always like to start off with this question is for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and the role or roles, plural, because many of us wear multiple hats in this world. But what is, your intersection with the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Karianne Munstedt. Some of you may have known me before as a photographer for Karianne Munstedt Portrait, but I have shifted my business over the past year. So I am the founder and CEO of Strategist Impact Partners. So I now work with nonprofits, foundations, associations, and mission-driven organizations to help them show not just all the good work that they're doing that they're doing in the community, but the full scope of who they are as a business. Because what I've seen so often is that nonprofits and many businesses too, they focus their outward facing visuals on the clients they serve. And of course, that's completely, incredibly important. But that's only one part of the story. Our headshots, that's one part of the story. There's also the team doing the work, the care providers, the partners, the leadership and the board, donors and advocates, and the community that surrounds and supports their mission as well. So my role now in the nonprofit world is to help them define the full scope and visually tell that whole story so the world can truly understand the depth, the credibility, and the impact of the organization. So what really drives me is helping nonprofits and honestly all the organizations that we work with now move from doing incredible work quietly to being clearly understood, clearly trusted, so the impact they're creating can grow and reach the people who need it most.
So very important. And I can tell by that response, you really get nonprofits, and there's for-profit, there's nonprofit, but there's a lot of intersection. There's a lot of uniqueness as well.
Right.
But in your business, Strategic Impact Partners, you bring the word visibility to your work. So as a tie-in to the previous question, tell me about this word visibility and what does it mean to you? Maybe how does it differ from the way we typically think about marketing?
Yes. Thank you so much for asking that question. I'm glad that we're starting here because when I talk about visibility, I'm not talking about traditional marketing. So for me, visibility is about how your leadership, your values, and your impact are consistently experienced by the people who matter the most to your organization. And it's not about being louder, right? Like, look at me, look at me. It's about being clearer and showing the full human side of the organization. So visibility is how your work becomes seen without losing your integrity. It's not about pushing messages and chasing algorithms and trying to be everything to everyone. It's about showing up. It's not about showing up perfectly or selling harder because it's softer than that. It's rooted in real people, in real organizations doing real work, and the willingness to let that be seen over time. It's about allowing your leadership and your team and your culture show up as they truly are, human, meaningful, and imperfect. So to me, good visibility doesn't convince people. It invites them in. And it doesn't need to reach everyone. The people who resonate with what they see, those are your people. And so that to me is how visibility is different than traditional marketing.
I love that you say, or at least this was my interpretation of it, right? Like visibility isn't about being everything. It's not about being everywhere. It's about being known for what matters. So that takes me to my next question. How do leaders, nonprofit leaders in particular, because shout out to all my nerds listening, how do nonprofit leaders truly pinpoint what truly matters?
Yeah. So like we just said, I think it's, again, important to start by saying that visibility isn't just about being seen. It's not about how many events you attended and posting everywhere on social media that you went to this event and that event and just like checking the box that you showed up. True visibility is really about how you're being seen and whether that way of being seen, whether that way of showing up is intentional, authentic, and actually aligned with your mission. So questions I might ask nonprofit leaders is, how do you want to be known? Do you want to be known as a leader advancing your mission, as a trusted voice in the community, as someone who genuinely shows up for the work and the people that you serve? So when leaders get clear on those questions, visibility becomes much simpler. It's not about being everywhere. It's about being seen in the right places, in the right moments, with your team, with your community, in the work itself. So it's not visibility for visibility's sake. And what truly matters usually lives where your mission, your people, and your impact all come together. So once leaders can recognize those moments, they know exactly what they can amplify. So if an organization is still struggling to answer questions like, how do we want to be known? I just want to point out here, though, that's not typically a visibility problem, it's a messaging problem.
Okay.
So once the messaging becomes clear, who you are, what you stand for, and why your work matters, visibility starts to feel much more natural and far less forced.
I like that. That gives me a lot to think about. And for those of us that are thinking, okay, Carrie, help me fast track to reach the best visibility, because what I'm hearing is truly intentionality. So
Right.
help us to reduce these obstacles, right? Like maybe what are some of the biggest visibility mistakes that you see happening, especially for these mission driven organizations? Like, what are the
Yeah.
visibility mistakes that are happening?
Yeah.
And please, how do we avoid them?
We avoid them? How can we avoid them? So I have a few to talk about. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is treating visibility as something you do after the work, right? It's a recap post after an event, a photo dump after a fundraiser, or maybe in an annual report once a year. What we have to start looking at is that visibility isn't an afterthought. It's part of the work. It's how people learn to trust you, understand what you actually do, and decide whether they want to support you, partner with you, or be a part of your mission. So that is one challenge. Another big challenge is then not having a visibility strategy at all. Because without one, and I do this too, right? If I'm off kilter for a week or something like that, I tend to post reactively, whatever photo I might have or whatever moment feels convenient, and then my story becomes fragmented. There's no consistency, there's no through line, and people have a hard time understanding who you are and what you stand for. Because without that clarity, it's much harder for someone to decide if they want to donate to you, volunteer, or get involved in somehow.
Yeah.
So that was number two. Um, Another thing that I see is that organizations tend to focus their visibility almost entirely on their events. And of course, events are extraordinarily important, but sometimes they forget to show the mission behind them. Things like the leaders in action or their advocacy work that they're doing, their research and education that they're doing, or the people who are making this work possible. Or they're leading maybe with need instead of impact. And people really want to see what's working and the difference that's being made in organizations. So there's all that. And finally, one other quick thing is that visuals do matter. And I know that cell phone pictures can be very budget friendly. Obviously, we all have cell phones these days. But in this day and age, when everyone's using cell phones to post images, that's just really not cutting it anymore to help truly showcase the story behind an organization. Professional imagery signals credibility, intention, and leadership, and it shows that this is a serious organization doing very important work.
I love all of that. So I hope all the listeners were taking notes, right? Like you just gave us 4 things to avoid, 4 things to do, to do differently. But you also emphasize how photography and storytelling, right? Like these are core to our missions. They are core to our work day in and day out. So from
Absolutely.
your perspective, that was a hard word for me, but from your perspective, Carrie, what makes a story and a visual that goes with it that could be, dare I say, like powerful enough that can help shift trust and influence in these leaders?
Oh man. Oh, a powerful story paired with the right visual does one thing so well, and it makes us feel something, right? So facts and data, of course, they matter. But visual, because it comes from up here, right? It comes from the head. But
Mhm.
visuals and stories, that's where they connect us emotionally. That's where they connect us in the heart. It bypasses logic and goes straight to feeling. And that's where trust is built.
Yeah.
So, a great example of this is World Central Kitchen. Some of their most powerful images aren't of big dramatic shots of disaster zones where they work a lot. They're quiet human moments, like the chef handing a warm plate of food to someone who's just experienced a loss. You see eye contact, you see gratitude, you see dignity. So that single moment tells you everything you need to know about their mission. It shows their leadership in action. It shows service happening in real time, and that their care is at the center of their work. Those images are intentional, captured with a professional eye, because the story they're telling deserves the level of care. So that's what makes the story powerful. It's the human heartbeat behind the mission. And when people can see and feel that, that's when trust grows, that's when influence deepens, and that's when support follows.
I can almost see that photo that you just described,
right?
And I can almost feel it. Like I can put myself in a shelter or in at the same table of this. So I love that you share that. But I also, on the flip side, I think for some people, visibility can feel really vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. Not everyone's going to say, yeah, I want to be visible, or maybe just that comfortability, like out the gate. So how do you coach leaders who might worry about being in the spotlight or fear being too promotional, right, in this nonprofit space? Because I can only imagine this might evoke some of that feeling.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is such a real concern, Jarrett. I'm so glad you brought this up, because it's such a real concern, especially in the nonprofit world. Mm-hmm. Because leaders, especially of nonprofits, they don't want to make the visibility about themselves. And right. That's a great thing. They don't want to overshadow their teams or the people that they serve. And they definitely don't want to feel salesy. And I totally get that. And I respect that. When I coach leaders, especially nonprofit leaders, I always start with this reframe, okay? Visibility isn't about publicity. It's about access. The more access you give, the more support you're going to receive. Or if you want to look at it this way, visibility is not vanity, it's strategy. So when you're visible, more people can actually find your mission, your programs, your resources, your impact. If people can't see or understand the work you're doing, they can't support you or benefit from it. So visibility isn't self-focused at all. It's mission-focused. So I really work with leaders to help them understand this and show up in ways that feel grounded and aligned, centering on the mission and the people. And of course, they themselves are part of the people. So we share real stories and we lead with humanity instead of perfection. So when leaders see visibility as a tool in service of the mission, that fear of vulnerability softens, and maybe it doesn't always go fully away, but what typically shows up is more clarity and confidence and a responsibility to be seen so the work can reach the people who need it the most.
And mic drop. I just think that is so perfect, Carrie, because I had to write it down. So I wrote down access and strategy. Like that is really, it is granting more access. It is strategic. And I've got to tell you, I was working with a client that you also know, I won't name drop them, but they're in our local community. And they had a really hard time at first, like sharing awards that they won or sharing photos that was really about them. But then I helped to, them to see this is really what you just said. And I didn't know that that's what I was saying at the time. But now going back to this conversation that, by the way, was years ago, this person really has embraced visibility for it to support their mission, right? Not to support them personally as an individual. It's the mission.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I feel like maybe I rubbed off on you a little bit along the way too, because while this whole concept does, go into my new business here, it's been a part of what I've been helping women work with for years and years now. So maybe a little bit of that has rubbed off along the way too.
Well, I'm so grateful. The benefits of being a friend of Karianne Munstedt. Okay. So what about for, many of the nonprofit nerds listening, the leaders in this world, and they're thinking, we need better visibility. Maybe I, as a person, or we as a leadership team, or we as an entire organization, we as a board, what is the very first step? You've given us the mistakes not to make and those mistakes to avoid, but what do we do now? What is the first step we should do today, tomorrow, in the near future? What do we do about this?
Yep. Well, I think the first step is actually really simple. It's just about noticing one moment where your mission comes alive and capturing it. We have to start showing what you do. So it's not necessarily a big event or a polished announcement. It's just a real moment. So that could look like a volunteer connecting with someone they serve, or a staff member doing something quietly and meaningful behind the scenes. It could look like a board member sharing somehow why this work matters, or just a small win that would normally go unnoticed, like an award that someone wins that they wouldn't have shared. So take one photo, write one or two sentences, and share it, whether that's on social media, in a newsletter, some other way with your community. That's the beginning of a visibility strategy right there. Visibility starts with seeing your mission differently. And when leaders begin noticing and documenting the real everyday impact that's already happening, they naturally start telling a more honest, compelling, and consistent story. So beyond that, if someone's listening and thinking, okay, we really want help doing all of this well. So that's exactly what we do at Strategic Impact Partners, from capturing the heart and soul of organizations through photography to all the way up to serving as a fractional chief visibility officer and helping build thoughtful, long-term visibility strategies. So we're always happy to have a conversation and just see if we can support our local nonprofits along the way.
Super generous offer, which leads me to then ask, right?
Yeah.
How do we do this? If we are ready to take that first step and now we want to take another step because the first one wasn't so scary or wasn't so daunting, right?
That's pretty
How can
easy.
people, yeah, it's really not that hard. How do we learn more about you and your company?
Absolutely. And I would assume that some of this information is going to be in the show notes. Is that true? Okay, good. So my website is strategicimpactpartners.us. So make sure it's not .com, it's .us, strategicimpactpartners.us. So I'm on the website and I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me personally, Karianne Munstedt, or connect with Strategic Impact Partners. It's a mouthful. I even have a hard time saying it sometimes. So website or LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. That is fantastic. Definitely going to follow you. I, of course, already do. I love seeing your branding, your images, your storytelling. So you model visibility in such a beautiful, authentic way. So thank you for that and for all your time. But I'm not done because I have one final question.
Yes.
And this one I like to wrap up our conversation with. But the question is, what is a takeaway or final sage advice, anything that you want to leave our leaders that are listening to this today? What is it you want to leave them with, or what is it that you want them to know?
Yeah, so I'm going to repeat one sentence that I said. You kind of said it again, but it's so important. So I'm going to say this one more time. Visibility isn't vanity. It's strategy. So when that visibility is rooted in real people doing real work, that builds trust. It attracts the right support and allows your mission to grow. And that's what the main goal is all about, right?
Yes, that is what it is all about. Carrie, thank you. Of course, I could talk to you for hours. I love what you're doing. I love seeing this evolution with you. I love seeing the great work that you're supporting nonprofits in our local community with and across the nation as well. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not only honored to be a friend of yours and you to be a friend of mine, but to have you in this local community and to be doing this great work alongside you. So thank you.
Ditto, my friend. I'm honored as well. Thank you again for inviting me.